New York Times Access for $9.99. And in June of that year, we dropped the price to $6.99 because there's only 6 months left in the year. So we wanted to make sure that the value proposition was the same for users, and that's key. Is you want to make sure that the value proposition you give to users is consistent over time. So then in September of 2009, Apple launched in-game purchases, which we've leveraged into a subscription mechanism by running a subscription server on our end and doing purchase tracking.
So did you built that?
Yeah, so we built the subscription service, and we've used Apple's in-game purchase options to allow users to purchase extensions to their subscription on their account that we co-maintain with Apple. So there's the Apple account, and then there's the Magmic account that associates them with their subscription. So September we changed the product.
One more question on that is that so does Apple get their cut on the subscription?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You cannot sell anything or take money out of users' pockets off of iTunes customers without Apple getting their 30% of it. So they absolutely get their 30% of it, and then we log the subscriptions on our side, and users can renew their subscription through an in-game purchase.
And so subscription is not daily, obviously. You can't just buy like one for a quarter or something like that, but it's...
No, that'd be fantastic, but the minimum price point on Apple is 99 cents.
Oh.
We have 3 subscription options. You can purchase a month for $1.99, and you can purchase 6 months for $6.99, and you can purchase 12 months for, I believe, $11.99. I forgot to double check the purchase price again before, but it's a tiered pricing model in which each successive subscription option is a cheaper per month price for it.
And just in contrast, if you wanted to do the New York Times crossword puzzle every single day, so purchasing the New York Times, would that cost you $1 a day?
I'm not sure what it costs to buy the paper, but I'm assuming that you would most likely compare that to the subscription price of the New York Times paper itself, because it'd be pretty silly to go to the newsstand every single day and pay face value for the New York Times paper when you could subscribe to it. So I don't know what the subscription price is to the New York Times newspaper, so I'm not sure how that compares to it. But their online product for crosswords that they have on their website where you can play on your PC is $45 a year.
Okay, so that's a comparison. So $11.99 or $12.99, whatever the price is, in that range versus $45 a year online.
Exactly. So it's incredible value, really, compared to what you would pay to get the product digitally on the PC.
That's too cheap, Jeff. Just between you and I, it's too cheap.
Maybe it is, but I think that it's a price point that users have accepted. And really, not just accepted, but we get a lot of reviews saying this is great. Normally I have to pay $45, and here I can get it for a much cheaper price point, and they're quite happy to pay that price for it. We look at it as a different user base, and you need to price your products appropriately for the customers that you're trying to access. So the iPhone customers are traditionally looking for cheaper price points on their products. If you look at the average selling price of an app on the iTunes store, it's the lowest selling point of the 3 or 4 major OEM branded storefronts: RIM, Microsoft, Google, and Apple.
Yep.
So the customers there are very price sensitive. The demographics of the customers in general, I mean, there's a lot of younger people that are owning iPhones and iPods, and so they don't have the disposable income of traditional BlackBerry users who were more executives in the original days of BlackBerry. But it's still kind of left over that there's a large portion of high-income users on BlackBerries, where the iPhones and iPod Touches are more of a pop culture phenomenon. So they've attracted a younger demographic, which is more price sensitive than the older, more well-off demographic. So the price points on the product is lower, but I think it's appropriate, and people have enjoyed the fact that they can play the crosswords on their iPhone for a reasonable price point.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm going to step away from the question that I asked, which was, how did you launch it on the iPhone? Because I want to. We'll come right back to that, but I want to talk to you now. You brought up an interesting point. Is that so? The iPhone and the App Store have a subscription, an in-app purchase mechanism or subscription mechanism. Now, the BlackBerry and App World does not have that yet, right?
That's correct. They only have the one-time purchase option.
So the one-time purchase option. So you're still charging what for that on the BlackBerry? $9.99.
I think it's a little under $9.99, and it's $9.99 or just under that on the BlackBerry. I have to double check what the price is on the Apple store.
And so what does and is that like for a year, or is that just a flat rate, or is that?
On AppWorld, it's a flat rate, but there's a couple of different versions of the product that's available. Yeah. So on the iPhone, we have one build, one SKU, one product version, but we've produced a version of the product called New York Times Crosswords Classics, which is just the access to the archives.
Okay.
And then we produced New York Times Crosswords Daily, which is the daily access to daily puzzles. So, yeah. And we sell the subscription, the daily version of the subscription on channels which support subscription. And we sell the Classics package on channels which support one-time purchase.
Okay. So, I mean, like I just think about the ecosystem and the the challenge that you guys have as the game developer and the distributor to be able to accommodate every different store. And when Android comes out, I'm going to assume you're going to put it out to Android if there's a demand for that, and if Windows Mobile 7 or Windows 7 Mobile 7 ever materializes, and then an iPad instigate. You start to think about, oh my, like one product like the New York Times is not just as simple as putting it out there and putting it on the App Store if you want to cover every single mobile device user.
Absolutely, it's way more complex than that. I mean, you've mentioned the smartphone providers in that list there, which is, in terms of percentage of mobile devices worldwide, still not the majority. Phones are still not over 50% of all the smartphones. So when we cover J2ME handsets and feature phones as well, when you include those in the list, it's a massive number of combinations of devices and capabilities of devices that we're supporting with one product.
Yeah, and the challenge that you face is that the New York Times Crossword is a global brand, and there's certain expectations in gameplay and look and feel and ease of use and or usability that have to be adhered to, or else, right? There's always somebody else that wants that brand, so you have to maintain all of that across every platform that you develop at every instance. I mean, that seems like a daunting task.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
And you didn't even grin. If you're listening to this, you didn't even grin on that. It's bigger than a challenge.
It's a challenge that we face. It's something that we as mobile developers have faced over the lifetime of developing mobile products. When you're working with a licensing partner like the New York Times, you have an additional layer of difficulty in that the buck doesn't stop with the product manager within Magmic. You need to work with your licensing partner and have a good relationship with them to make sure that they're happy with the product in all of its manifestations wherever it goes as well. So we've done that with our own products throughout the last 7 years of Magmic being around and having our products go through porting and distribution across worldwide channels and literally thousands of different devices. And we have the same concerns on an original IP product as New York Times Crosswords does on their brand. We want our poker product to have a good customer reaction and a customer who plays on one device to understand that the other customer is getting just as good experience as they are, and that when they move devices, they'll have the same experience. New York Times Crosswords wants to make sure that customers of the New York Times Crosswords brand, whether that be through the newspaper, whether that be through the PC product, or whether that be through the mobile product, all have a good experience. Whether it's the exact same experience or not, it needs to be a good experience so that they're happy with that brand. Because, really, branding is about creating a feeling and creating the feeling that the brand is solid and creating a respect for that brand. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're looking for a cookie-cutter solution across all instances of where that brand is used. What's important is that if a brand denotes quality, that wherever that brand is, it's a quality product in whatever design that product happens to be in.